From all honesty, I know especially, it was a lot more, I had this belief in it was a lot stronger, and it was very much ingrained in my head whenever I first took public history, that the archives was more of a solitary position. A lot of it dealt mostly just with the documents itself, whereas it doesn't necessarily have to be. And I learned that in public history, but even more so whenever I physically got down to it, because there were some things to where you would have to talk to other people and be like, how do I take care of this? What is your thought of this? What do we do with the resources that we have on hand? Who do we talk to about this? And then also, sometimes there would be people who would come in and you would have to help them. And sometimes they weren't very nice and you had to be social whether you wanted to or not.
That happened a time or two. I enjoyed having a person to sit here and talk to, because William and I have had multiple classes together, but we never had sat and had a conversation, and so we really sat here all summer long and got to know each other really well, and now we have 2 classes together this semester, so we talk all the time, but before we just didn't really talk. We said hello, we had brief conversations, but I think it's helpful because sometimes when your head starts hurting and you can't look at the same thing anymore, you can switch and take a 10-minute break and just have a conversation, and I think it cuts up the monotony of being in here by yourself.
I think obviously you don't want 10 people doing this all at the same time.
No.
But I would agree with Lauren. Honestly, Lauren is one of my really good friends now because of this. Like, we really started to understand each other, and it is very important because some of those things can get very confusing, like especially whenever it comes into provenance. Do you have to keep the official order because it might possibly be that if I name this collection this way, then maybe the file name will be messed up, and that gets into a whole other conversation. And it's just a lot easier if you have somebody there to kind of help you with it, and the two of you can talk about it,
bounce ideas off each other.
It was really important, and I remember it made it a lot more fun. And it made it a lot more easier because I know specifically, and I think you kind of mentioned this too, both of us are a little bit scatterbrained. And so with another person there, it was something where you could talk to somebody and your brain was like focused on both tasks. It helped a little bit. As far as advice, I would suggest that they keep in mind that Rome was not built in a day. You can't get together a collection in one day. We had tons of files, like I know both of us did. I think I had quite a few more than she did, but it obviously it's not a competition, but whenever you have that many, you're not going to be able to look through them and take the staples out and all of these things, like just making sure that the articles are preserved, that they're straightened, that they're in the right file, that you've got your finding aid together. That is a lot of work. And it looks very overwhelming at first, and you just have to realize, take it one step at a time. And if you take it one step at a time and do a little bit, like week by week, you'll be done. It'll be a lot easier than you think it will be.
That's what I said. I said you need to have patience with yourself. You have to take it slowly. Just do one thing at a time, as you've said. Also, you can have madness to your organization, but let there be a method to your madness, especially in the initial survey stages. Because by the end of it, it doesn't matter if somebody comes in while you're doing your survey. If you know what's going on, that's great, but by the end of it, you need to have a understandable organizational pattern to all of your collections, all of your folders, your finding aid. But in the initial stages, if it makes sense to you, run with it. Just run with it.
Accurate. I know, like, Laura's very right about that, though, because at the beginning, you're not going to understand what you're doing. There's not going to be any rhyme or reason to it, just because you don't know what you're looking at. So it's okay if you don't have a specified understanding of what's going on quite yet. Just if you can understand and you can organize it in your head, that's what matters.